Florida Panthers are proud to select from Tampere, Finland, Aleksander Barkov.
Centering pass. Barkov looks there defensively.
What if I told you that one of the NHL's most dominant players barely says a word? From incredible stick handling to his mind-blowing defensive plays, Aleksander Barkov is truly one of the greatest two-way forwards in hockey history, and his highlights are honestly some of the best to watch. But how did this quiet Finnish star develop the skills that earned him the Selke Trophy as the NHL's best defensive forward? And why does a player who dominates both ends of the ice get so little attention compared to other NHL stars? And if you're enjoying the video so far, quick favor hit that subscribe button. We're pushing hard for 10,000 subscribers, and these videos take countless hours to research and edit. Now, to understand how this quiet Finnish star became an NHL elite player, well, to find out we have to go back to Tampere, Finland. A young Aleksander Barkov, son of a professional Russian hockey player, was learning the game on the wider European ice surfaces. But how is it that a kid from Finland, a country with just over 5 million people, managed to become one of the NHL's elite players while barely making headlines? Barkov, whose father moved the family to Finland to continue his own hockey career, had access to something special from an early age. The hours he spent studying the game and developing his two-way skills were crucial. I was always watching, always learning. My father taught me that defense is just as important as scoring goals. In Finland, we focus on the complete game, not just offense. And Barkov's unique ability to see the game differently was key. In Finland, we practiced on bigger ice. You have more time to think, to see plays develop. I spent hours just working on stick handling and protecting the puck. His training methods were different from North American players. While many focused on shooting and speed, young Aleksander would wake up early to practice face-offs and defensive positioning before school. Combined with his connection to legendary Finnish coach Erkka Westerlund, a partnership formed both on and off the ice, Barkov was developing skills most players his age ignored. As the must-watch prospect progressed, the chemistry between Aleksander and his mentors was clear. Not only was Barkov showing incredible defensive awareness, but he was also scoring goals that made scouts take notice. The teenager's elite ability to read plays was often the reason his teammates found themselves wide open. However, in 2011, Barkov faced his first major challenge. At just 16 years old, he became one of the youngest players to score in Finland's top professional league, Liga. People thought I was too young, too quiet to handle professional hockey, Barkov recalled, but my father always told me, let your play do the talking. His coach at Tampere, Jukka Rautakorpi, saw something others missed. Barkov thinks 3 steps ahead of everyone else. When most kids are thinking about scoring goals, he's already thinking about defensive coverage after the shot. Yet, a certain NHL scout who had spent months watching the Finnish phenom had just accepted a role with the Florida Panthers, Scott Luce. Unlike most scouts who questioned whether Barkov's quiet nature would translate to North American ice, Luce saw a hockey genius one that was going to bring the Panthers to new heights. But could a silent European teenager really succeed in the much more physical, trash-talking NHL? Barkov would train intensely to prepare for the transition, using every opportunity to study the game mentally. Thanks to his dedication and hockey IQ, Aleksander entered the 2013 NHL draft as one of the most complete young players scouts had seen in years. But skepticism still remained. Could a player who barely spoke above a whisper really lead an NHL franchise, or was he just picked because of his size? Well, Dale Talon, the general manager of the Florida Panthers, would silence the critics when he selected Barkov second overall in the 2013 NHL draft ahead of stars like Jonathan Drouin and Seth Jones. The hockey world was shocked. Some analysts questioned the pick, noting the Panthers chose the quiet Finnish center who might take years to develop, while passing on more exciting North American talents. Without another NHL-ready center on their roster and inspired by the trust given to him by his coach, Barkov scored his first NHL goal against the Dallas Stars in just his second game, shocking not only Panthers fans, but their organization. They had finally found their future first-line center. As the 2013 to 2014 season progressed, Barkov continued to impress everyone with his advanced defensive play. Almost every shift was spent shadowing the opposition's best players, and Barkov's hockey philosophy was helping his Panthers reach new heights And while it did take his teammates some time to get used to playing with someone who barely spoke in the locker room, sometimes his play looked like magic. Everyone eventually became accustomed to Barkov's unselfish style of play, including his rookie linemate Nick Bjugstad, who suddenly found himself scoring at a much higher rate. Not only did Barkov and Bjugstad share ice time, but they also found common ground with their off-ice personalities. Barkov's defensive awareness, coupled with the skating skills he developed on the larger European rinks, made him almost impossible to get around, a point that the Panthers rookie proved by shutting down elite players during late-season matchups, a move that skyrocketed the second pick into NHL insiders' conversations. Yet it wasn't just his play that was catching attention. His complete lack of social media presence and refusal to do interviews unless absolutely necessary had created a mystery around him. NHL reporters dubbed him the Quiet Finn, a nickname Barkov took no issue with whatsoever. Barkov would round out his first year in the league, averaging 8 goals and 16 assists in just 54 games before a knee injury ended his season prematurely. But his Panthers were still far from making the playoffs. On February 26, 2015, Barkov was visiting the Chicago Blackhawks in a regular season matchup. Though he didn't score that night, the now 19-year-old continued to shut down Chicago's top line, a trend that carried through the remainder of the 2015 season. Barkov had dramatically increased his offensive production from 0.44 points per game to 0.63, all while taking on the toughest defensive assignments every night. But it wasn't just his defensive skills growing. On December 10th, 2015, Barkov pulled off what Hockey Night in Canada called the most disgusting shootout goal of the year, sliding the puck between his legs before roofing it past Washington's goalie. This wasn't the quiet, safe player everyone expected. This was a star finding his confidence. New Panthers coach Gerard Gallant recognized what he had and began deploying Barkov against everyone's top lines. Barkov's defensive metrics skyrocketed, going from a negative 3.2 defensive goals above replacement in his rookie year to an incredible plus 9.1 in his third season. Meanwhile, the Panthers organization was building around their Finnish star. They added veteran winger Jaromir Jagr, who immediately took Barkov under his wing. Jagr admired Barkov's work ethic and dedication, noting how much he watched and learned. "He leads differently," explained teammate Aaron Ekblad. "When Barky actually says something, everyone shuts up and listens, and when he shows up for extra skating, suddenly everyone else does too." By January 2016, Barkov signed a 6-year contract extension, cementing his place as Florida's franchise player. The Panthers' faith in their quiet star was paying off as they clinched their first division title in 25 years. Barkov had transformed from a defensive specialist into a complete player, finishing with 59 points in 66 games while still shutting down the league's best players. What truly highlighted Barkov's transformation was a February 2018 game against Edmonton. With Florida down 2-0, Barkov not only scored a shorthanded goal, but then added 2 more for his first career hat trick, all while holding McDavid pointless. His evolution was complete, from the quiet rookie who could defend to a dominant force who could take over games at both ends of the ice. On September 17, 2018, the Florida Panthers made a decision that shocked no one inside their organization, but raised eyebrows around the league. They named the still quiet Aleksander Barkov their captain. At just 23 years old, the Finnish center, who rarely gave interviews, was now the face of the franchise. "Being captain isn't always about who talks the most," explained Panthers GM Dale Talon. "It's about who embodies what your team stands for." Panthers head coach Bob Bauner shared a story that perfectly captured Barkov's leadership style. "During a tough stretch in February, I came to the rink at 6:30 a.m. to start planning practice. Barkov was already there, on the ice by himself, working on face-offs. By 7:15, half our team had shown up to join him. He never said a word, never asked them to come. They just followed." This quiet influence extended beyond work ethic, but his on-ice performances were becoming louder than any words could be. In his first season as captain, Barkov exploded for 96 points while still playing elite defense, finishing 5th in Selke Trophy voting. "I've played with Hall of Famers throughout my career," veteran Keith Yandel said after a March 2020 game where Barkov scored 2 shorthanded goals. Every night without fail, he would take on the toughest defensive assignments, win over 55% of his face-offs, and still produce offense at a first-line rate. His value to the Panthers became crystal clear during a brief injury absence in 2020, when the team went 1-4-1 without him. May 10th, 2021. After years of being overlooked for hockey's top defensive forward award despite elite metrics, Aleksander Barkov would finally take the exact recognition his head coach had demanded for years, winning the Selke Trophy as the NHL's best defensive forward. Barkov's tricky combination of offensive skill and defensive dominance resulted in him collecting 62% of first-place votes, a landslide win that validated his place among hockey's elite. But this wasn't all, because in the following season, fueled by their captain's two-way excellence, the Florida Panthers would win their first President's Trophy in franchise history with an incredible 122 points, securing them the best record in the entire NHL for the 2021 to 2022 season. Aleksander Barkov was now widely considered one of the most complete hockey players on the planet. What makes him so special is his unique blend of size, skill, and smarts. At 6 feet 3 inches and 215 pounds, he has the frame of a power forward, but the hands of a finesse player and the mind of a coach. His stick-checking ability is arguably the best in the NHL. He can pick pockets without taking penalties, averaging just 12 penalty minutes per season despite playing against top lines every night. Since 2018, Barkov ranks in the top 5 in the NHL in defensive metrics, while simultaneously producing over a point per game. His face-off percentage consistently hovers around 55% elite by NHL standards. Perhaps most impressively, he's averaged over 22 minutes of ice time per game as a center, a workload typically reserved for defensemen. When compared to other European stars, what separates Barkov is his complete lack of ego. Unlike some European talents who came to North America primarily to score goals, Barkov built his game from the defensive zone outward. "I tell young players that defense creates offense," Barkov explained in a rare, lengthy interview. "When you play the right way in your own zone, suddenly you have the puck more, and it's a lot more fun to play with the puck than chase it." Aleksander Barkov is truly one of the most complete players to ever step foot onto NHL ice. Watching him, especially in defensive situations, it almost seems like he's playing a different sport than everyone else. His ability to steal pucks with his stick while maintaining perfect position is something few players in NHL history have mastered. And while part of his quiet nature is simply his personality, the real truth is that often the plays he makes are simply more efficient than flash and flare. By reading the game 3 steps ahead and anticipating where the puck will go, he's able to shut down opponents more effectively than if he were to rely on big hits or aggressive play. By the way, let me know what you think below. Does Aleksander Barkov deserve a spot in the top 10 centers of all time? Regardless if you think yes or no, please share your thoughts below. I would love to hear them. And if you enjoyed this breakdown of one of hockey's most underrated superstars, please hit that subscribe button. We're pushing hard to reach 10,000 subscribers, and your support means everything. It took countless hours of research, editing, and production to bring this video to life, so that like button really helps the channel grow. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.